Well, really primarily two reasons, but one of it was the land use and what's happening in the county with a code that we created that was made up called the Unified Development Code, where we had citizens, businessmen, developers all coming together and creating a code that's fair and predictable to, well, it's been decimated, and now you're ending up with all kinds of horrible things that I think are happening without concerns for traffic or sewer or any of those other things that are very important to quality of life. So, and secondly is taxes. We've had increase about 54% property and 70 sewer for a person said he wouldn't raise taxes, and it bothers me. It bothers a lot of other citizens. You got to learn to run the government without tax increases. In '97, I was facing much like we are now. It was a $100 million shortfall. It means the county government was running a deficit. We had to go in and reorganize the government. 10 departments to 5. We did a -2 and a -1 budget. Never in history did you come in with a negative budget. And after all the savings, which was millions, we then went, and I was part of a group that got a 0.5% transfer tax transferred from the state to us. So I created the revenue in '98. So I would say to them, I said I wouldn't raise taxes. I brought in a national company, Phoenix, to help me do it. We did it. We created the savings, then we moved forward. And sure, that's what they're going to say. At the same time, first time in history, we got the AAA rating, which is Wall Street saying your economy, your finances are great, which they still have today. And that was beneficial to saving money. So we had the AAA, we had the savings, and we were able to do good things with parks and libraries. So I would say you need to look at the financial statements before you make that kind of statement. Right now they're running a $80 million deficit. We're going to have huge taxes, and they're all going to say they will raise taxes. All over the county you have developers using things called redevelopment or any trick to get high density to get away from a very good code that said, look, when you get done developing, if you can do it, you got to have something called concurrency. Let's make sure the roads work when you're done. That's been done away with. In the Barley Mill project, they gave a waiver to the largest project in the history of the county that I know of. And no consideration for what that'll do to the city of Wilmington in terms of retail. It's going to destroy the city. So it was poorly done, and it was controlled by the developers pushing it. They had no consideration for the quality of life. Well, you kind of got three issues hitting at once, well, two issues hitting at once. I think crime is a problem. The police department was led to be almost a third down. That means 70 officers short. They can't assist anywhere with that. And crime is, of course, it's occurring all over as a result of poverty and other things. And I think that you never allowed a police department to be to run that low. I always kept it close to the authorized strength, well equipped and motivated. That's not the way they are now. And that leads to a lot of other problems in public safety. And the secondary problem, as I said, is people all over the county are very upset. You go, it's a different project up north, Pilot School. In the middle, it's Stoltz, and below the canal. It's all having to do with the citizens not being involved in the process, thinking that it's the developer running it, and that all these creative ways of getting around the code have all resulted in unpoor planning. And that's got a lot of people upset. First of all, people have to look at my record. The only county executive in history that kept my promise, and I will not raise taxes. They're going to. And secondly, look at my record on land use, which is a problem right now. I created the code. I put a moratorium in. I had citizens meeting monthly with me in business. That's all ended. The citizens don't have a forum, and they're going to respond to that. So it's going to be by looking at my record of no taxes. I cut the senior exemption so that the senior citizens are living much better by not having to pay full property tax. That's been done away with, and they kept it for the group that's there. And those are the kind of things that I just have to remind the public of how I ran the police department, which was solid. It was, and the county government was rated 22, one of 22 governments out of 3,000. So it was a top 5%, top 0.5%. And that was a result of good financialship and good stewardship. And at the same time, we had things going all over, Sleep Under the Stars, Carousel was doing well, Rockwood was doing well. We had programs all over that were for the, I just have to remind them of the family values and the things that we created without using tax increases. So it's my job to get out there and remind everybody of that, and I'm working very hard to do that. And we'll see, but I think we're doing well. There was an employee that was working on a political campaign, not mine, but I should have known about it, and I paid a $250 fine, and I accept responsibility for that everywhere. After a political investigation on me, I went through everything. At the end of the day, I said the day it started that I did this publicly, did a press conference. So at the end of the day, I was responsible. I should have known this person was working on a campaign, not mine, and I took the responsibility for that and move forward. But sure, my opponent's going to say I left a deficit because at the end of my term, we gave away grants because the surplus was so large that year we had more money going out than coming in. But the surplus was so large that the following year we were back into the black. Well, he's not going to say that. He's going to say, I left a $40 million deficit. So it's up to me to show the public that they're still living on a surplus. And that was because of good management. The AAA didn't come easy. That was good management, and having people like Ron Morris and others involved in the government, people that know this stuff, is how you're going to turn this government around. But you cannot raise taxes in an economy like this. And 54%, outrageous. And they're going to do it again.